the average 24-year-old has lower testosterone than an 80-year-old man.
The idea of biohacking, of using science and all these new therapies, they may be not natural per se, but nothing is natural anymore. We don't live in a natural world. If we just let the body age, like it used to, you'd be dead at, you're right, 70 or 80.
We are going to be the first generation that's actually going to get to choose how long we want to live. Welcome to the Path to Purpose podcast, where I share incredible conversations with amazing humans who went through a pivotal shift in their lives that have put them on their path of purpose, profit, and impact. My name's Zarak Fatah. I'm a serial entrepreneur and life coach. I went through my own transformational journey where I'm now committed to living a life of inspiration, education, and empowerment. My intention is to share these conversations so they inspire you to also walk your path to purpose. All right, welcome back to the Path to Purpose podcast. I'm excited to have this conversation with you because, recently I turned 50 years old, and many people have been saying that I don't look a day over 35. And not only do I take that as a great compliment, but I'm very proud of the fact that I have this vitality and this great health at my age. I'm almost half a century old, which is crazy. And today's conversation with Dr. Sanjeev Goel is going to help you learn how to do what I've done, because it has been 3 decades of training, eating, and supplementation. And this is where most people get it wrong. The supplementation to support your hormone health, your sleep, your mindset and cognition is imperative, because you can improve the hardware, but if the software is not online and updated, you're limiting your results. So today, Dr. Sanjeev Goel from Peak Human and I are going to have a powerful conversation that will literally change your life, change your body, change your health, and what I've done is available to you as well. So I'm excited to have this conversation with Dr. G.
Thank you.
That's what we like to call him, Dr. G. Yeah, so he is, you are a published author, you are a certified MD, you are a practitioner of mindfulness, and the founder of Peak Human. So I'm excited to just have more people discover what you do, because, here in Canada, regenerative medicine and the whole concept of utilizing the latest technology and modalities of combining science and spirituality is just not very available here. And that's why I'm so happy that Peak Human exists. And I would love for you to just share with the audience, those who are watching and listening, just who is Dr. Sanjeev Goel and what is Peak Human all about?
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much again for having me on this show. And I can totally vouch that you look, 15 years younger than
Thank you.
Than your stated age. I can't believe it. We just did some measurements just before, and it's like, again, you really, people saw you without your shirt, they would be amazed.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But you were asking about, what's my kind of story, the origin story. I'm a physician for past 30 years now almost, that I graduated from med school. And, I was always the type of person who could never decide on what type of medicine to practice, because it was all so interesting. And so I settled upon general practice because, in effect, general practice doctor was, we called it the jack of all trades. Somebody could kind of explore all different avenues, because I knew that what was in traditional medicine was not finding the answers. Like, there were so many things we could not really solve. And it really gave me an opportunity to kind of go and explore different avenues. I was GP psychotherapist for 4 or 5 years, where I help people, counseling and help them go through, various mental illnesses and all that. I ran mindfulness workshops. I was a cruise ship doctor, worked in the Himalayas, running school camps, all types of. I've experimented a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think something for your listeners to think about is that everything had a reason.
Yes.
To get to where you are now. And so now today I'm very blessed that I run Peak Human, which is a longevity focused practice. And we're always trying to give, the mission of Peak Human is to be able to give people access to the latest technologies so that they can, reverse their aging. I think we're in a very amazing time right now where I think within 10 years, we will be able to reverse aging.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And, it's been said, Andrew Huberman stated that we are going to be the first generation that's actually going to get to choose how long we want to live. And, when I share that with some people, like, well, why the hell would I want to live so long? I don't want to be old and sick. And I say, yeah, that's exactly it. See, we think that when we get to 80, 90 years old, our body starts to deteriorate. And those last 10, 15 years of our life are going to be total crap. Now, there's a difference between lifespan and health span. And that's a very important differentiator for people to comprehend, because you can live to 120 and you can live 115 healthy years. And yeah, those last 5 years, you may start to deteriorate. However, there are some people living to 80 or 90, but their last 20 years are terrible. Exactly. And that's because they don't know what they need to do in their 30s and 40s so that they set the foundation, the template in their body, so their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond are healthy. And this is where I feel there's a lack of information, misinformation, and I also think there's just a lot of ignorance. I think a lot of people are choosing what to eat, how to train based on an old paradigm. And as you mentioned, the latest technology is so advanced when it comes to peptides, stem cells, exosomes, TRT, growth hormone, I mean, all the things we're going to dive into. These are most things that when you talk to people about, they glaze over. They have no idea what you're talking about. But for those who are into biohacking or health optimization, life longevity, these are all cutting edge or progressive technologies and products that are available right now that people are completely oblivious to.
Yeah, one of the things I like to, what happened when I was younger, when we started, medicine, we used to think about everything wanted to be natural. This idea that the people who were doing the natural therapy were the people who were at the cutting edge. This idea of not just using plants or whatever as treatments. Yes, there is value to that. There's a whole idea of being more holistic. But what we're talking about right now is what we call precision medicine, the idea of biohacking, of using science. And all these new therapies, they may be not natural per se, but nothing is natural anymore. Right. Like I believe we don't live in a natural world. So, if we just let the body age, like it used to, you'd be dead at, 70 or 80. Yeah. But we live in a different world.
But even to that, I believe that people are dying at 70 and 80 because of all the unnatural things that are contaminating our water, our air, our food. I believe humans are actually designed to live hundreds of years, but because of the external circumstances that impact our health, we're down to 70 or 80 years. And whether it be peptides or growth hormone or testosterone, these are all things that are naturally within us. These supplements just stimulate the production or supplement those wouldn't be neurochemicals, those hormones or those essential nutrients and elements that our body needs to thrive. Because, for example, with TRT, it's not about taking testosterone to look like a bodybuilder. It's taking testosterone to get back to the levels that you would have when you were in your peak shape in your 30s, and that's where I think people get confused. Oh, testosterone, steroids. Oh, I don't want to take that. I don't want to look like a big bodybuilder. But the thing is if you're working with someone like yourself who's doing the blood work regularly, knows where your biomarkers at, knows where your test levels are, your DHEA, where you should be, and a doctor like yourself at Peak Human or any regenerative clinic, whether it be in the US or somewhere where they have the people who are educated and know how to bring you back up to your baseline level so you can be in peak optimal state. That's what people need. And that's where I think there's a great, a lack of awareness, especially here in Canada, because, for whatever reason, Canada is so strict on certain things that I believe actually work, like the, not the FDA, what do we have here? We have the
Health Canada.
Health Canada is so strict. Like recently DHEA got banned. My whole conspiracy theorist around this is that they're trying to lower testosterone in men so men aren't strong and men can't fight back and men can't put an end to all the bullshit going on the planet. That's my conspiracy theorist idea. Right. Call me crazy, but DHEA and testosterone is very important for men. Very so all important. You men, go get your blood work tested. Make sure your test is up there, because when the shit hits fan, you want to make sure you can.
There's no question. I think we're seeing testosterone dropping all across in all men, and it could be estrogen mimickers, other things in the environment, plastics, and
Now I've even heard a crazy statistic like the average 24-year-old has lower testosterone than an 80-year-old man. Yeah, that's fucked up. Yeah. And again, that's from, as you said, plastics. That's as a result of all the external circumstances that are impacting us. Now, what happens to, you've got a generation of young men in their 20s, super low testosterone. playing video games, smoking weed, watching porn where they can actually get it up, not dating, not socializing. Who do those men become in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, right? So this is why it's so important, whether you're young, whether you're old, get your blood work done, check your levels, and make sure you are in peak optimal state, because as I said at the beginning, you could do all the breath work, you could do all the mindfulness, you could have the most empowered mindset and attitude. But if your sleep is off, your cortisol is high, your testosterone's low, you don't got energy to go to the gym, I'm sorry, but you're not going to reach the optimal or the full potential of your human capability if the hardware isn't online and producing like the software, and that's where I think there's such a great, collaboration and partnership between Peak Human and my company, Alive Life, because you and I are both on the same mission. We want people to be in their best mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual state. And you're a doctor. Obviously, you know what to do on that end. You've been doing that for 30 years. I am a certified life coach, and I also have been obviously physically fit for more than 3 decades. I live it. And, and it's now that I'm in my 50s that I'm like, holy shit. Thank God I started training at 18. Thank God I started taking testosterone in my 30s. GH in my 30s. Like back then it was very underground, but I can now see that taking what is now prescribed and what's now actually advised by physicians in regenerative clinics like yours and in the US, I was taking it just because it made me feel good, but I've realized it's played a major part, I believe, in why I'm in the condition that I am in my 30s. I'm sorry, in my 50s from my 30s. Now, one thing I want to speak to you about, I would love for you to share, because the Path to Purpose podcast is all about sharing inspiring stories of people who had success in their career, and there was some pivotal shift that caused them to take a step back and just ask, is this my purpose? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? And for you, you have been a general practitioner for many, many years, but then something happened along the way. I don't know if it was mindfulness, meditation, or what was it that had you shift from being a typical doctor to someone who doesn't just want to provide the solution, but actually wants to provide the preventative measures proactively, using modalities like meditation and mindfulness to really get to the root of the problem and cure it from there. So I would love for you to share a bit about that story.
Sure. I mean, as I was mentioning earlier, is that I've always been very interested in all different parts of medicine, because I was always looking for the answer. I was like a seeker. I'm one of those types of people, constantly looking and trying to learn more. And I was always going down one road, but one of the things that I think COVID actually was one of those big things, because it kind of, sometimes they say the enemy of the great is the good. Like sometimes if you are just comfortable with what's happening, and as a general practitioner, you're comfortable, life is continuing on, you're paying the bills, you're seeing the patients, they're all everyone's clamoring for your time. And at COVID, something changes and drastically upends everything about what you're working.
Right.
And you have that inside, sometimes we just don't take that kind of that chance. And I really think that's, when a challenge happens and then you have a chance to kind of look and say, okay, what am I really doing? What's the best use of my time that I could be doing right now? What's my gift? Yeah. And for me, I always had this yearning for more knowledge. And like they say, you want to scratch your own itch. I'm also in my 50s, and I want to be at the top of my game. So I'm like, what would I want to do for myself? I'm going to give to my clients. And that's exactly what happened. So I think it was there was a bit of lucky break there, but also you have to kind of be willing to you have to put everything in. You can't half-ass it. And the same thing I think needs to happen for people who want to reach their peak goals. They can't just half-ass those goals. Of course, you have to be very mindful and say, you know what, am I going to be okay at 80 with doing this? Is this going to be good enough? And it wasn't good enough for me. That wasn't good enough. I think I have a bigger purpose in this world. And
I love that.
And that's why I'm doing this.
And so I acknowledge you for that, because, it's one thing to want to start a new charitable, initiative, or, deviate from what you're typically doing to expand upon, but as a certified MD, you're taking progressive, cutting edge, I would say, modalities and procedures and offering them in Canada with all the bureaucracy and all the limitations. Did you get any pushback? Did you have any criticism from other doctors or from the board of, Canadian Medical Board? Would that be like questioning what you're doing?
Well, I mean, I think from my colleagues, it's not necessary. Nobody's actually rushing to say, hey, great, go for it.
Yeah.
And I think some of the things, sometimes you do these things not with the result in mind. I'm just spending time to say, okay, I'm going to go pursue my passions, and the livelihood will come.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happened. I think that's a really important lesson, is that you can't go and you want to know what the end result is. You just need to know that you're going down the path that you feel good about.
Yeah.
And, I just keep plugging away. Like, we just opened up a hyperbaric oxygen therapy center. We just opened it on Sunday, and it took me 5 years.
Okay.
I bought those chambers before COVID.
Okay.
But because we could not do anything, and it was a big challenge to get that thing going. But I just believe so much in being able to provide these type of treatments.
Yeah. Because Peak Human really is a one-stop shop facility where you come in, you get your blood work done. You guys offer the True Diagnostic Test, which is the test that I did that showed my rate of aging at 0.8 per year, showed my intrinsic age of 35. It showed what else, my telomere health. Like, when I got that True Diagnostic Test, the results, I didn't know what half of it meant, but at the time I was working with a health coach, Spencer Copen, who broke it all down for me. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Spencer, and he's the one who put me onto True Diagnostic. And, shout out to Ryan and Hannah, who are two amazing people, the founders of True Diagnostic. And I had all this data, and I was blown away. Now, I've lived a healthy life for, 30 plus years, but I didn't realize the results of living a healthy life and making aligned choices year after year resulted in all that data. And that's where the new technology and these tests and the science that's available can actually break it down for you and show you like where you at. And obviously coming from the nightlife industry, I know a lot of people who partied really hard in their 20s and 30s, and now they're in their 40s and 50s, and they're scared. After COVID, people dropping of heart attacks and having all kinds of different health issues. People in their 40s and 50s are scared because now they got partners and kids and homes and businesses, and they're like, shit, I don't know if I've done too much damage and what can be reversed. Because a lot of times when people come to work with me, it's because they see my health and they're like, okay, you're 50 and you're in great shape. How do I do that? And now with tests like with the True Diagnostic or Viome or the DNA company, there's all these tests out there that can let you know, like, hey, this is where you're at. And I know you even have tests and technology at your office that can also give people, like, here's the real-time data. Like, this is what your blood is saying, and it's not too late for you. This is what I think most people don't understand. Like, yeah, you might have abused your body in your 20s and 30s, and maybe even to your 40s, but with regenerative medicine, with a proper protocol, with the diet, with the nutrition, with a program designed for you, you can reverse the damage that you've done. And I think that's really important for people to understand, because some people are like, screw it, damage is done, I'm just going to keep going. It is. No, I think
there's definitely is hope, and we do see reversal of biologic age. There's a very famous trial called the TRIM trial, where they gave people growth hormone, DHEA, metformin. And what they found was the thymus gland regenerated, and over 2 years, the biologic age actually reversed. Wow! So it's a really it was a really landmark trial.
Growth hormone, DHA,
and metformin.
Metformin. Okay, because I'm taking growth hormone and DHEA.
Yeah, the reason they added metformin is because constant stimulation of growth hormone stimulating IGF, which can mess up your sugar levels. But metformin's kind of balancing it out. So there has to be kind of, I always, one of the major lessons I've learned about health is that there's always a kind of growth and a decay. Like, that's part of life.
Right.
And you have to kind of work with that, those natural kind of, I guess, systems of living. Growth hormone's going to stimulate growth, but you can't always keep growing.
Right.
And in fact, the organism will die quickly if it's only growing all the time.
Right.
So that's why fasting is so important. Fasting is a time for people to basically get rid of the waste and dead, and then you can grow faster. And so that cycles, I think, is natural law of the universe. And metformin and you know, other things that kind of stimulate the fasting pathways are really important. That's why they have this balance in that trial, because taking growth hormone, you know, you might be great till you're 70, and then you look at Sylvester Stallone, you're like, you know, super aged.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. You gotta balance things
it's got
out.
a balance. I think
Absolutely.
that's a really important point for your listeners. I think I want to just kind of give a little bit overview of what these biologic age clocks are. Is that so? Yeah, when you go to your doctor, you get, you know, they test your sugar and they test your cholesterol and your thyroid and all that stuff, blood count. Thing is that these things are very late markers. It means that you really have to be quite ill before something shows up on them.
Okay.
But the advantage of these biologic age clocks is that changes are happening on your DNA, what we call the epigenome, like every single day. Changes are happening based on, you know, your body's interaction with the environment, internal and external. And so they're very accurate at kind of seeing these changes that are happening to your cells as they're aging.
Right.
And it's remarkably accurate. And now they're predictive of actually illness. So even though your blood test may be completely normal, so somebody's like, you know, my blood test normal, what can I do? Here we can see things that are happening way earlier in advance.
Okay.
Like, it's very interesting on the test that I do on my patients, the True Age test. We can actually see the smoking damage that's happened to their DNA. We can see the alcohol damage. How much alcohol has their DNA been exposed to? How much their epigenetic changes have happened? We can give a measure of their fitness. How we can predict what's their VO2 max, because we know VO2 max is one of the most important predictors of longevity that there is. So there's multiple new clocks that are coming.
Yeah.
And one of the really cool clocks is called the Dunedin Pace Clock. And what it does, it looks at how fast are you aging. So today
diagnostic does that.
and so let's say, for example, you're 35. Let's say you're 35 instead of 50. But, you know, for whatever reason, you're partying now the last 6 months, and maybe your speed of aging is now 1.3.
Yeah, right.
It means that you're aging at 1.3 years instead of every 1 year that
Which
the
means
average
at
person
50,
is.
you'd actually be 65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you kept doing that.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is now people don't get discouraged because, hey, you can implement a lifestyle change and reduce the rate of your aging. That's the best thing you could potentially do. Even though if you, let's say you had a really hard lifestyle the first 30 years of your life, it doesn't mean that you can't reverse or really slow down the speed of your aging. That's what, you know, Brian Johnson's doing, you know, he's doing, his rate of aging, I think, is like 0.7 or something like that. It's an example.
Yeah.
You know, mine's maybe like 0.85 or so.
That's amazing.
But generally, that's what you want. That's what I would say. Let's repeat your testing. I'd love to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Then do this regularly, and you can see what type of changes are happening with your lifestyle that you're doing.
Yeah, because I did my true diagnostic test, I think, in like October 2023.
Yeah.
Maybe even earlier. I would love to get it done again, because especially after training the last 4 months for my triathlons and just really dialing in my supplements and all that. Yeah, I would love to do it again. I absolutely think, agree that doing it every 6 months to a year is really smart, because that way you know how to adjust and recalibrate, and know that also kind of holds you accountable. You know, like, okay, I'm going to do my test again. I want to beat my results from last year. Yeah, can I get my rate of aging down even slower, right?
I think that one of the key things we do for our clients is help bring things into awareness.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, all we're trying to do is bring their body into awareness, because most people are living in habit, automation. So they're not really thinking about their eating, and they're not thinking about whether they should go exercise or whether they should
They're
be taking their
reactive. They're not
supplements.
proactive.
Yeah.
You know?
So what we do is, by bringing these tools, we help bring it more into their awareness.
Yes.
And with awareness, what you do is you help create change.
Yeah. But also with the data, they have something to measure.
Exactly.
So then they actually get the report to be like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at. Let me change some things. Let me improve my habits, and let me come back 6 months later and see what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the things that we have, there's an app that basically you take photos of whatever you eat, and through AI, it can tell you exactly this is what you ate, and it calculates out. The value isn't really in the, you know, that you're going to track and you're going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to reduce my calories by 100 whatever calories or whatever. It's really, the real value here is that by just the act of recording, you bring out that person to awareness of what they're eating.
Yep.
And then they start to make changes without you even doing anything. Like, it just happens.
Yeah.
So that's, some of those tools they're actually going around it the other way. People think, oh, the change is going to happen by you making changes to your diet. It doesn't actually happen that way. And the same thing happens, I think, with the True Age, is that just the act of measuring, you're right. You look at the numbers and you're like, oh, I'm doing this test. I better I want to beat this test.
Exactly.
And I'm going to start making all these changes.
Yeah.
it becomes, a little snowball. You make one step, and then they keep building on those steps. And that's the part, I think, the value of having a coach in your corner or a doctor coach in the other corners.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to have people.
It's accountability.
Yeah.
It's accountability, and it's also having the guidance that when you fall off track, or at least you have a program to follow. Yeah. And then when you do fall off track, you have the accountability and the structure to get back on, because obviously, as you know, I've referred many of my clients to you, and I won't refer a client right off the bat because they need to first get into a routine. They need to tap into their integrity to be going to the gym, cutting out the crap, getting themselves ready before they can really commit to a program, because otherwise they're just going to do it for 2 or 3 weeks and fall off. And this is why the mindset and the health set are so essential and intertwined. But the mindset and having the discipline, the focus, and the commitment is critical, because if you don't have that, you're not going to see the results to the end. You're going to skip workouts, you're going to eat that crap food, you're going to have a night of drinking. And look, we're all, it was my birthday last week. I got to have some fun, have some drinks, go out, whatever. But this week, I'm back on. I know.
So what made you get back on? How were you able to do that?
Well, the thing is I've worked very hard, especially over the last 4 months getting ready for these triathlons, that, turning 50, I said, I want to be in the best shape of my life. Yeah. I want to do something that I couldn't even do in my 30s. And I've put so much time and energy into getting into this condition that I don't want to screw that up. And, I had pizza and wine after my triathlon on Saturday. I ate delicious restaurants all week. I had margaritas, I had whatever, but it's like, it's my 50th. I'm going to eat, I'm going to enjoy. And next week I'm back in the gym, I'm back on my diet, and I have the discipline to get back on track. And I also have the grace and the compassion for myself to have fun and let loose every now and then. And the thing is when you are disciplined and you're on track and you're in great health and great shape, you can afford a week of eating like crap, go on vacation, enjoy what you want, come back and dial it back in. But then that's where some people fall off. They have a week of eating crap. That week turns into a few weeks, into a month. And 3-4 months later, they've let go of everything that they worked so hard to create, So for me, I train hard and I eat well so I can have those weekends or those moments where I can just eat whatever I want and have zero guilt about it, So for me, to your point about what keeps me going, or to your question about what keeps me going, what keeps me motivated, I didn't play sports growing up. I wasn't athletic. I was insecure. I was, skinny kid. So for me, when I discovered the gym, it really helped me transform my life, helped me build my confidence. And it showed me that you put the work in each and every day. You do the reps when no one's counting, when it doesn't mean anything to anyone. You do that work day after day. 3 months later, you look in the mirror, you see a different person. You realize that you can change your body, change your confidence, change your future, change your energy if you choose it and you commit to it every day. And for me, turning 50, no kids yet, I want to be a father that inspires my children, that I can go traveling, hiking, running, riding with my kids, because I didn't have that. My father, he's 76 years old. He's not in great shape, heart attack, stroke, has trouble walking. And I look at someone who hasn't taken care of themselves for all of their life, and I'm not going to be that father. So for me, I train the way I do. I eat healthy. I keep myself active to become the father that I want to be for my children. And that's what motivates me. That's what gets me into the gym 5 days a week, tracking my meals and just staying in best shape, because, for me, I know the best is yet to come. My first 50 years were epic. The next 50 years are going to be incredible, especially when I have my children. And I know you being a father, you could obviously relate to this. So for me, it's really about seeing who my future self is, the life that I'm living at 60, 70, 80, all the things I'm enjoying. And I'm choosing in this moment to become that man. Yeah. And that vision for my life is what keeps me on track and has me just honoring that vision I have each and every day with full integrity.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how, people sometimes ask me, even my parents would sometimes say, oh yeah, how can you, it doesn't seem enjoyable to have so much sacrifice. So how would you answer that?
Well, I mean, for example, like
it
the triathlon was a lot of work.
Yeah.
However, the feeling that I get after a strong swim session or after a great ride, it's not a sacrifice. It's I'm utilizing this amazing vessel that we're born into to its full potential to just see how much faster can I ride or run, how much longer could I swim. Like, you know, it's just like using the mind. How much smarter can I be, or how much more educated, how more creative can I be? And I think that we are blessed to have great health. And if so, why not use it to its full ability? So for me, I don't see it as a have to work out. I see it as a get to work out. And it's not a sacrifice, because it's not like I'm giving up time to do something I don't enjoy. Like, I'm using my time to do something I love. And, you know, I wasn't a great swimmer, and I struggled with swimming, but I put that time in because I knew when I become a great swimmer, I'm going to be so thankful for the fact that I chose to overcome my fear and actually, you know, get in the lake or the ocean. Yeah.
I'm scared of swimming.
Yeah.
So that was really inspiring when I told me about that.
And you're only scared because, you know, you're not comfortable with it yet. And we only get comfortable by leaning into the uncomfortable, right? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's, and it's possible for anyone, you know, but I'm amazed at how many people don't know how to swim. And it's just practice. You got to hire a coach. Hire a good coach. It's like you hire a good doctor, hire a good life coach. You can hire a good swim coach who knows how to take you into the water and just get you comfortable, and that's it. Because naturally, as humans, we float. We float when we're full of air. But when we get scared and we drop, you know,
I feel like I sink.
Yeah. So one thing I would also love for you to share about, because again, a lot of people watching or listening to this, they have no idea about peptides. They have no idea about testosterone replacement therapy, or, you know, any other modalities or things that you provide at Peak Human. So can you just share a little bit about that to educate those who are maybe curious?
Yeah, I mean, this you know, testosterone replacement therapies, I think we have now a lot of good evidence that it probably is helpful. I mean, there used to be this concern before that, you know, first of all, it was in the domain of the bodybuilders.
Yes.
So we used to think about it as abuse, you know, anabolic steroid abuse, and, you know, people do have side effects of taking too much testosterone. First of all, the side effects are, you know, loss of fertility, you know,
hair loss,
acne. We basically call it hormone. You're getting a whole disruption of your hormone system.
And
you know, and obviously emotional changes too.
Yeah, but they're also doing like 5 times the amount of what a human actually needs. Yeah.
So that was the problem, that these people were taking huge doses, and it was causing complete shutdown of their own internal production of testosterone. But now we do realize that, you know, there is kind of a range. There's this range of we call free testosterone, which is, you know, about 200 to about 800. I don't know I won't have the units for you, but basically, you know, a young person's level at 800, you know, and you see a person in their 50s or 40s who are like 300. But that's a big difference there. There's a big range there. And there's no reason that a 45-year-old won't feel great at 800.
Sure.
And we can do that now by giving testosterone replacement therapy. So we're not giving levels that are super physiologic. We're giving physiologic levels that they would have had when they're in their 20s.
Right.
And I think that your body doesn't have that kind of negative reaction to that. You don't get like this major suppression of your own hormone production when you're using levels that your body kind of thinks is normal.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things about testosterone replacement therapy. You used to have worried about prostate cancer. Now we think that, hey, it doesn't cause prostate cancer. Probably protective for the heart. We used to be worried that it used to cause heart disease. We don't think that anymore. So there are some now, you know, people's thinking is changing about you know, using testosterone replacement therapy in a normal level.
Yeah. And also TRT is not just for men. There are women who are taking it as well.
Just jump over to that is that, you know, when I first went to medical school, everyone was being given hormone replacement therapy. Every woman.
Really?
For example, every estrogen, progesterone. Okay. And all. The problem was that was a synthetic-based estrogens and progestins. Testosterone treatment was not so much given at that time because it doesn't really come in a pill. So, but you know, there was a study that came out maybe almost 25 years ago called the Women's Health Study, and it really caused a huge scare in the medical community because they found that in some women, the rate of breast cancer increased after, let's say, 10 years of estrogen.
Okay.
And that caused everyone to stop prescribing hormone replacement therapy. But what we found when people did the biologic age test is that women start to age dramatically as soon as the hormone levels go down. As soon as they hit like 50 and they hit into perimenopause or menopause, their aging starts to skyrocket. And that's because these hormones have a huge impact on heart health, brain health. There's increased, risk of Alzheimer's when you have less estrogen around. Your whole body fat changes. You start to put weight around your stomach instead of, your hips like a woman normally does. And that's, again, even for men, if you're wondering why you're putting on more weight around your midsection, that's potentially because you have low testosterone.
Okay.
So in women, these hormones are very important. And now we can give bioidentical versions of these hormones that don't have the same risk.
Okay.
And even testosterone. It's very important for women to have some testosterone around. It improves libido, muscle mass. So, this is a hormone that is present in women as well. So it's definitely, a new world out there. And I think that every woman needs to consider, hormone replacement therapy is now considered like the good thing. It's standard. You should be on it if you want to protect your brain, heart and your bones, at least those three major organs for sure. But probably everywhere, your skin, sex drive, all of these things, are important on these hormones. So we recommend that on all our clients.
Yeah.
Really, I think it's made a life-changing.
Yeah. And to that point, I've had clients say that it has been absolutely life-changing for them. Men who are in their 40s, they come home, they're like, I don't even have the energy to play with my kids. I'm falling asleep on the couch after dinner. I don't have the energy to go to the gym. I go to the gym, I'm like, I can't lift. And I say to them, have you had your testosterone tested recently? They're like, no, I've never done that. They do it, they find out they're super low. They get, a prescription of 80 to 100 milligrams of test a week. And their wife's happy because they're having lots of sex again. And, and they're feeling like
they're happy.
energized. They're happy wife, happy life. Right. And they're feeling more energized. And I've had at least half a dozen clients say it has been a literal game changer for them.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of nuances in this. It means that there is important to have it monitored because some people convert more testosterone to estrogen than others. And you can have, people get gynecomastia and all, some side effects can happen. So what the dosage is for a person, for a man, varies based on the genetic makeup is how much fat there is on their body. The more fat you have, the more testosterone you convert to estrogen.
Okay.
So, sometimes you take these you have to take it with some estrogen blockers and things like that, or supplements to prevent the testosterone moving to estrogen.
Okay.
Some people, they'll have more hair loss with testosterone. So then we have to, do other things to prevent that hair loss or maybe make an adjustment on the medication. So it is, is one of those kind of things that there is some kind of customization. And I think we're still at the early days of understanding, what is the right dosing. We don't really get that. I think there's a natural variation in daytime testosterone that it'd be nice if we could replicate that. Try to figure out, when is the right time to be taking testosterone? What should be taking with the workout? There's a lot of things to think about there. And I think we don't have the answers. Yeah. But I think the more that somebody knows their own body, they can be the best judge about how to do that because, science hasn't caught up yet with what the reality is.
Yeah. And because it's still fairly new, I have no doubt in the next couple of years.
Yeah, we'll know more. We're just understanding this now. And when you were mentioning about peptides, there's now peptides to stimulate your own testosterone.
Yeah.
For example, there's a peptide out there called kisspeptin, and that's used to stimulate your own LH hormone, and LH stimulates testosterone. These, most peptide just means a chain of amino acids. So it's kind of a big term. There's many hundreds and thousands of peptides out there. But when you're talking about peptides, you're talking about the group of new kind of molecules that have come out that have all these bio effects on the body. They sit in a gray zone. Primarily, they sit in a gray zone in Canada and the U.S. because they're not approved by Health Canada or for the FDA. So people are, purchasing these things online without really any monitoring or quality control and all that. So that's kind of the issue. Yeah. But I think these things have huge promise. But the problem is that the regulatory agencies haven't been able to keep up with the science. So even though there's so much science on these new peptides, unfortunately, they're unable to keep up with it because we can't do trials on all these things, which cost, hundreds of millions of dollars to do.
Yeah. And
That's
if
for
some of
sure.
the peptides out there, I know there's like BP 157.
Yeah, BPC 157
BPC
called
157.
the Wolverine peptide.
Yeah.
For example, this peptide is produced by the lining of your stomach.
Okay.
So it's already a peptide that's formed by your body. It has huge healing. The fact is, a peptide is produced by the inlining of your stomach needs to protect your stomach against all the acid.
Right.
So you can think about how much of a peptide it's used for healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that peptide has been found to heal your gut.
Okay.
It's very good for people who have like IBD or IBS symptoms, things like that,
Okay,
ulcers
good
and
to
all
know.
that. Probably would be helpful.
Yeah.
And it's being used for also muscle and tendon repair.
Yeah, for recovery, right?
Recovery.
Yeah.
So it's all types. It's a type of healing peptide. That's what we call it, the
Okay.
Wolverine peptide.
And then there's peptides for like better hair, better nails, peptides
Yeah.
for, I think there's even fat loss. I mean, it seems like there's,
Yeah, that's what I'd say. There's
Wide
maybe
variety.
30 or 50 peptides out now, and again, I believe it's very hard to take 30 or 50 peptides, even though they all have some benefit, and that's where I think rotation comes in. It's about, again, your body has to be constantly in some amount of change, and accepting that what we call the hermetic stress, like put your body under some type of new stress, new peptide. Do that for a bit, and then come off it. Try something different. You're gonna get the best. I think the most benefit from that. There's a peptide out there called CJC 1295, which stimulates your own growth hormone.
okay.
So it's a growth hormone releasing hormone peptide. It means it stimulates your own growth hormone of your body.
Okay.
You
Would you recommend cycling that between taking GH, going off the GH, medication and then cycling it with CPJ?
Yeah, CJC. Yeah, and the other one's ipamorelin. They kind of go
Ipamorelin,
together.
I've
They
taken
kind
that
of go
before.
together. These
Yeah.
two go in combo because they stimulate different aspects of the hormone cascade. But yeah, I think so. Again, we don't really know, to be completely honest. We don't really know this whole answer, but probably makes sense to me. And I do recommend my clients to look, like, rotate these things. We don't know the long-term impact of constantly taking GH.
And you don't want your body to get too used to it and
Exactly.
adapt to it.
Like I said, so give breaks give breaks on GH, and then that way you can get rid of dead cells and then restart it. You'll have more benefits. Even there's people are talking about rapamycin. I don't know if you've heard of
Okay, yep,
rapamycin.
I've heard of it.
Rapamycin is basically an mTOR inhibitor. So mTOR is the pathway that growth hormone stimulates. And so in various animals, taking rapamycin has been shown to lengthen life by about 15-20%.
Okay. It's big.
So the question, it's a big amount. So nobody really knows what's the ideal dose. What people are doing is they're taking it, on a weekly basis for, let's say, 2 months, taking a dose of rapamycin, and in fact stimulating, going against that growth pathway just for that one day. But what that seems to have is a lot of other benefits, and maybe strengthening your immune system, increasing longevity, and maybe other benefits like the fasting pathway.
Right.
So we're kind of in the learning phase here.
Okay.
So I think, again, a person whoever's going down this path needs to be open-minded to change course as knowledge changes.
Okay.
And that's, again, another reason to have somebody in your back corner who's kind of there to kind of do with you and learn from other people who are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to touch on what you said about being open-minded, what I'm curious to know about is obviously with your peak human protocol of doing the blood work, seeing where they're at, getting the scans, prescribing them the peptides, the TRT, or whatever protocol is necessary for them.
Yeah.
How does mindfulness and breath work or any other practices tie into how you help your clients reach their full peak human potential? Because as we've talked about before, the software and the hardware, when people ask me, okay, so how is it that I look the way I do at 50, and how is it that I'm able to do triathlons and also run my business and travel and live a dynamic social life? And for me, yes, the training and the eating is a part of it, but it's also how I start my mornings with my meditation, my breath work, my presence, the gratitude, prayer, starting the day in that high vibration, because I believe that your energy, obviously we are energetic beings, like all of our skins and cells are just, right, little particles, little atoms, right? And the frequency that we have within is, I would say, probably the biggest factor of our ability to live a long, healthy life. Because if we are feeling negativity, guilt, shame, anger, hate, frustration, resentment, any of those low vibration emotions are going to make us sick.
Yeah.
And I believe that you can go to the gym, you can do all the cardio, you can eat all the right food, take all the right supplements. If you have a toxic mindset, if you have low vibe, negative energy, you are going to get sick, because that low vibe energy is going to create the cancer. It's going to create the tumors. It's going to create the disharmony in your body, and disease is disharmony, right? So I'm curious to know, how does mindfulness play a part in what you offer at Peak Human?
That's a very good point. And I wish I had an answer to tell you that it plays the biggest role, because I think it's an extremely important aspect. But it's very difficult for me sometimes to get people to a stage when they're not really there.
Got it. Okay.
Like, I think, my first goal is getting people to just be awareness of what their body health is.
Okay.
And I think the mind health comes, there has to be some other shift that's kind of happening there, like for why they should, why that mind shift should happen. Sometimes it happens when they've come to me for a particular reason. They're already down that road. Or it could be that, these tools we talked about kind of starts clicking something in their mind. They have some small gains, and they start to see how their own actions are having, reactions in their life. Yeah. When that starts to happen, then that it takes off. But it's even though I believe it personally in my own life that's how important it is. It's very hard to kind of take somebody into our program, into that aspect. Like, we don't have a dedicated piece for that. Okay. And I think that's maybe
not yet.
That's exactly that's exactly the value of what you're doing. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head, that no change. I mean, this mindfulness has a huge impact, because it's all about bringing awareness. Yeah, and that's what I think mindfulness does. It takes things out of the automation and brings into awareness.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer that the mind can make us sick, and the mind can also help us heal and be healthy. And I feel for a lot of people who are coming to you who may not be in the greatest health, yes, there's the lifestyle habits that have gotten them there, but what are the beliefs they have about themselves that allow themselves to drink, or to do the drugs, or to treat themselves in such a harmful way, right? And that's why healing the root cause of what is the belief that you have that is creating the toxicity in your life. Because again, you can come to Peak Human, you can get on the optimal program, the centenarian program, you can do all that. But if you don't address the root cause, if you don't elevate your vibration and frequency by healing the trauma, the pain that you're holding on to, letting go of the anger, the hate, the shame inside, it's only a matter of time before the body will get sick again. It's like having a beautiful Ferrari, but you're putting shit gas in it, or you're even putting the wrong type of gas in it. It's like, it might be a beautiful Ferrari that looks nice and shiny and, perfect from the outside, but inside it's deteriorating, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly one of the reasons. And we talked about a little bit of the origin story. One of those events for me was a hero dose of psilocybin.
Okay.
So I mean,
all right, now we're talking. Okay, now we're getting interesting. Okay.
So 2017, I believe, or something like that was for me. But it changed my whole perspective. It changed my whole perspective about what I was here to do on this planet.
Love that.
So, my mission is really
so now we get the real story. Okay, so you drop in, you do a hero dose, 5 grams of
probably more. I don't know.
Okay.
It was
so share more about that. Like, what was it? Did you have a vision? Did you have a message come to you? Like, what was that?
It was, first, I can take people through it. I have it all recorded. But basically, it was a real struggle at the beginning. The session, I remember telling the therapist.
So you did in a clinical setting with you did like psychedelic assisted psychotherapy.
It was just a one session.
Okay.
One session with the therapist, but it was a tandem, a duo. They basically I remember during the session saying, "Can you just give me the antidote?" I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. I remember the gentleman telling me, "You know what? I'm getting for you. Don't worry, I'm getting it for you."
Yeah.
And And I remember thinking, I don't want to go down this. I don't want to go there. And the whole thing was, for me, that moment was, I was struggling with this thing where I was being told that I had to leave this life. I had to leave being a doctor. I had to go like become a monk or something.
Okay.
I had to I had to start talking to people about that, what I've learned. I'm God, and I've become God, and it's time for me to go tell people.
Okay.
And I was struggling that because I don't want to leave my family, and I don't want to leave everybody. And I was like, I was in this thing, and they had to hold me down. I was on the floor or something. And at some point, the person said, just let go.
Yeah.
Just let go.
Stop trying to control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next moment, I let go, and I started saying I'm God. And I mean, I really felt God was within
You were
me.
connected to God for sure.
Yeah.
God
was with me inside me, and I felt I had everything. Everything was perfect. So it was, even when I came out of it, it was almost like, was this all a setup?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was all a setup for me to do this thing, for me to find out that I was God.
Okay.
That's how crazy it was. But now that that's passed, I still have to be very careful that it's much easier for me to go down that road now. Like, have that connection with God. Even a smaller dose can take me relatively quickly into this feeling that I'm connected to God. Yeah. Which now tells me that there's something to it. Like it's not.
We should believe we are connected to God in every waking moment,
Yes.
because we are. We are slivers of God consciousness in human form, and most of us can't believe that we are connected to the divine for whatever limiting belief that we have about ourselves. But when we realize that we are a part of God and God is within us, and God wants us to win, God wants us to be healthy, God wants us to be rich, God wants us to have love. Yeah. When we believe that, we are now open to receiving that.
Yeah.
But most people can't, because they just look in the mirror and they don't see the divine within them.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things, at the last one of my last sessions, I had this question. I said, why am I doing this then? Why have you put me on this earth, to do all this? And am I okay to enjoy it? Because one of the struggles was okay, why am I enjoying this? I should be perfect on this world. And the answer I got was something like, just enjoy. You're here on the planet to just go enjoy all the experiences. We're going to call you back when your time is ready, but just enjoy every little minute of it. Like, you're there to go spread love and build connections and share love. And we'll call you when you're ready, but at this moment, you're okay to enjoy. It's part of it's part of the experience. Right. So I thought that kind of gave me a little peace of mind. But and so it's okay for me to do this work and not go and start sitting in a cave.
Beautiful. And I would even say that you're doing God's work, in the sense that you're helping people live their best life possible by way of showing them how to achieve health optimization, and you're helping people to see that you don't have to die at 70 or 80. You can be alive till 100 or 120, but you got to choose different. And most people don't know what their choices or options are, because they're just ignorant to these technologies and modalities that you provide at Peak Human. And that's why I feel that you and I are both God's work, in the sense that we've committed our lives to helping others live their best life possible. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And you and I both had to go through our own journey of an older version of ourselves doing what we thought we were supposed to do, until we had that moment where it's like, wait a minute, is this actually why I'm here? Like, is this the reason I was born? And that's why I love having conversations like this, because whether it be Robbie from Othership or, Giovanni, from Elemental Rhythm, it's like, these are all successful guys who had a whole different life, but then something happened along the way that showed them that they have a more divine purpose. And I believe you and I, we're on the same path. We're doing the same work. We're doing it in tandem. Now we're going to be doing it in collaboration with the Live Life and Peak Human. And, I'm just grateful that we've met. We are now going to be able to upgrade humanity. We're going to upgrade their software. We're going to upgrade their hardware. We're going to make sure that they are, functioning and just enjoying the most that life has to offer. As you said,
that's the point.
As the angels told you, have your fun, enjoy your life. We'll call you back when we need you, And between now and then, live it up. Eat
Yeah,
some pizza, have
that's
some
it.
wine, go to the gym, take care of
Yeah,
your
I think
health. Yeah.
exactly. I would like people to do everything in awareness.
Yes.
Do everything consciously.
Yeah.
That's
Beautiful.
If you want to go have a drink or whatever, do something, do it consciously.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well, thank you for creating the awareness. Thank you for, educating the viewers and listeners today on what it means to be in a peak human state. I think it's so important that everyone knows that this is available to them. I'm not saying you have to go do TRT or GH or peptides. You don't have to do it, but at least it's an option. And if you've done damage to your body in your 20s and 30s, that doesn't determine how the rest of your life is going to be. So, I'm looking forward to our collaboration. I'm looking forward to the Alive Peak Human supplements coming out later this year. And Mind, Body, Soul, November 3rd. For any of you listening, watching this podcast, if you want to meet Dr. G, if you want to learn more about health optimization, biohacking, life longevity, then come to Mind, Body, Soul, November 3rd. And Dr. G is going to be one of the speakers and one of the sponsors, and we're going to be sharing lots more about this at the event. So, Dr. G, thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to just share what you do. I'm grateful for our new friendship, and just want to thank you for the work that you do, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Real pleasure. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast and you learned something valuable, then please hit subscribe so you don't miss the future episodes. I'd love it if you share this with a friend and leave us a review. Your feedback is so important to our growth. Thank you for supporting the Path to Purpose podcast. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next episode.